Can't really tell who that is. I'll share it anyways. Welcome in, everyone. Hope you guys are enjoying your Friday night. You're getting ready, settle in and enjoy the weekend. Hopefully be filled with excitement and everything else that so far 2019 has brought us. Hopefully that will continue on for you guys this weekend. Thank you guys all for sharing this out, for retweeting this, and for just genuinely being supportive. Whether you agree or disagree, I thank you for coming in and joining in. My name is Jason Lyon, Mr. Murica, the Bearded Truth. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I understand you can't stay, but thank you so much for at least coming in and throwing some support. It is greatly appreciated. So there's been a lot of bombs, and you know, I don't have enough time or enough space, enough characters here on Periscope or on YouTube to really depict all the things that we're going to get into. So nonetheless, of course, we're going to talk a little bit more about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because slips of the mouth is exactly what she's about. Showing her hypocrisy is exactly what she is about. And so we're going to talk about her. We're going to be talking about... Hold on, I may have somebody calling in already.
Send a voicemail. Press.
Hey, Irish, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
Oh, I'm just rocking a good week at work and getting ready to relax for the weekend.
Oh, it's a good time. That's always good.
Trump's little petty move makes me laugh hilariously.
Oh, yes, the grounding. Yes, that was one of the big things that we were going to get into. I'll let you, since you've called in. For those of you guys who do not know who this is the great Irish fellow Navy veteran from submarines, and he does quite extensive research, and his troll game with Huffington Post is biblical. And so Irish sent me a message yesterday on my way home from work and gave me a reference, and I managed to find it after the fact. But go ahead and enlighten the people as to what happened. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen this, but with regards to Trump and grounding Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, I'm sure most people have heard by now, but as Pelosi was already on the bus to go partake her flight to the Mideast in Brussels, Trump just decided to send her a letter and ground her and say that she's not allowed to take the flight, which is entirely petty and entirely hilarious at the same time. That in response to her threatening to cancel the State of the Union, which probably isn't going to happen anyway, or the canceling anyway, it's probably going to keep going.
Yep.
Trump follows entirely predictable, as we all see him every single time he does something, or someone tries to do something against him. He comes back and does something just as petty back.
Yeah, it's amazing, his punchback. His counter is just on point.
Yeah. And there's more coming that way, but I kind of called before you got into your topics tonight with my time frame, so what were you going to first?
So I was actually, I had actually started off really late, I'll be honest with you. I started probably about 2 minutes before you managed to call in. But so the topics that we have tonight, and this was what I was opening up with. So New York Times wrote an article and said that $15 minimum wage is here, but why we need to push it to $33 an hour. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about Ben Shapiro at March for His Lives. He got quoted, and it was trending on Twitter of hashtag Baby Hitler, and it was basically him saying that we should be here's the exact quote, and the truth is that no pro-life person on earth would kill baby Hitler, because baby Hitler wasn't Hitler. Adult Hitler was Hitler. Baby Hitler was a baby, right? And they took that and they made it construed as if Ben Shapiro is defending Hitler himself, and saying that he wouldn't kill him as a child or as a baby. So we're gonna get into that, and then of course we got to give the update on the layoffs or the reduction in force with the government. 2 days away. I've started the countdown for that for the 30 days. That's gonna be a fantastic time, and yeah, and then we move on from there. Is there any one of those that you particularly want to jump into?
We can talk minimum wage since that was your first one.
Okay.
The most amazing part of a minimum wage was something I'm going to steal from Dennis Prager, is that the New York Times, years and years ago, had an op-ed in it that said the correct minimum wage was $0.
Yes.
And the ideology of the New York Times has shifted so far and so far away from actual analysis that they can no longer say that.
Yeah, it's insane.
Because there's no evidence that minimum wage actually works.
Yeah. And it's so getting into the facts of this story, right? They're breaking down and they're saying, look, this just isn't enough money. People are still struggling. The number of people living with food insecurity has decreased over the past 6 years, but the figure is still higher by 22% than it was before the recession. So even though people are making more money, people are still not able to afford food 365 days out of the year. And using that statistic that we're going to raise the minimum wage, they're entirely omitting this idea of what raising the minimum wage is or what having a minimum wage does to the entire economy and who it hurts the most. It's just such an omittance of facts and historical understanding of this entire topic, and it's just beautiful to watch somebody so objective and not narrative or biasly driven, such as the New York Times, come out and advocate for even more. And I'm sure that you've had these arguments with some of your lefty friends, as well as I think I've had plenty of them where you ask them, hey, why not $20 an hour? And they're going to go and skip that one and go straight to 33. It's just beautiful, right?
Yeah, and there is no economic discussion of where the top is of that.
No.
Right? When you ask that question, they haven't even reasoned it. Any increase in minimum wage is a benefit, period.
Yeah.
Where if you talk to somebody that's actually reasoning things out and trying to analyze it from any sort of more detached view rather than straight up an ideology that doesn't think, they will find that there's a point at which employers stop hiring people, at which people start losing their hours.
Yeah.
And they start being replaced by machines.
Yeah,
I specifically chose for work to go into an industry of industrial automation and automation in general because I see that's the future of where the world's going.
And you will always have a job in that field for, well, I wouldn't say always, because eventually that's even going to get outdated. But you are the next big wave of what is going to be manufacturing jobs, and that is in automation. So you're already ahead of the curve. Meanwhile, people who advocate for raising the minimum wage, they don't realize they're advocating for artificial intelligence. They're advocating for automation entirely because it's a lot cheaper to pay something up front, to pay a big hefty fine up front, get a piece of machinery, and that machinery never calls in sick. That machine shows up every day, and it works as long as you push the button. And sure, sometimes you have maintenance on it, but over time is much more cost effective than having some young little 18-year-old who's going to mess it up more often than not.
Yep, I've got my long-term goal plan set. I'm going to be a automation technician making 6 figures working at McDonald's.
Done.
Just touring the area in the McDonald's machine.
Yeah. and I can't wait to see all these people who are like, automation's not good. They're going to advocate for these jobs, and they're going to say, well, somebody's got to sweep the floor. And it's like, nah, we got Roombas running around this entire McDonald's. You don't need that. We need someone to flip the burgers. Nah, that's a simple process. Flipped. Everything is going to be going away from McDonald's. You're going to walk in, hit the ATM, and be done. You're going to get your burger to pop out the little slot right underneath. Instantaneous. It's going to be beautiful.
I mean, I was just eating my glorious lunch today at a local pizza establishment that they've already got it, where you order online, you come in, you poke in your code or your email, and you know what? The case opens up, and you've got hot pizza.
That sounds like Little Caesars.
Yes, it's Little Caesars.
Yes, I know my fast food pizza places.
But I am in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, small town, and it's already happening.
Yeah. Imagine the demand in a place such as like Boston or New York or San Fran, where that is, the progressive left has already driven up the minimum wage so much by being involved with government so intrinsically, and from there, right, these places are going to be pushing even harder to get this stuff. And it's so short-sighted. Once again, we're seeing the left is so short-sighted. Marine Mom, welcome in.
So, separately to their point of talk about food security, that is an issue that I care about a lot. I very much care about keeping people fed. I don't understand why anyone should ever starve in the United States.
Yeah.
It does not make any sense to me. And I've dedicated my own charity-type contributions to that aspect of life. And at least out here, you can get a meal in my town every day of the week for free, like hot meal, because there's a church in town that has a hot meal every day.
Because people are charitable and people do that, and you don't have to use the government in order to do that. It's beautiful.
And that's separate from food stamps, and that's and the food bank. And food bank, I don't know if you guys know much about how food banks are, but they're not income dependent. They are, how many people do you have? And they give you a box of food.
So if you're hungry,
like actually,
however bad you need it, if you're hungry and you can go and you can make it to a food bank, you can get food. Beautiful.
Yeah. So food security in the United States is, those that aren't there's a pride level to it, which I fully understand. You don't want to go and say, hey, I need help.
Yep.
And there's an education level that they don't know it exists.
Yeah, no, I think that's really one of the biggest things is like people don't, there's no training, right? And when we look at the education system doesn't teach anyone this, and parents that have, our previous generations are much more proud, and they've been living in a little more of a thriving economy in a way. Our economy is so fast paced and so adaptive, right? Because of the technology advancements are exponentially growing each year, that we aren't really hip with the old school stuff. We aren't hip with the things of old. We learn about the new things, right? Everyone knows about GoFundMe, but they don't know about the church down the road. They don't know who's the charitable individuals. And I think that certainly we need to have people like what you just did, just coming out and just talking to the people and sharing this out to the world. It's important that we know that, hey, there are people out there that are providing this. There are people out there that are willing to give to others, and there's nothing that you have to give in return. And this comes to in a world right now and in our society where more people are dying of obesity than starvation. So I'm thankful on that end, right? People are more gluttonous than starving, but obviously starvation is still a huge issue.
Yeah, and even the World Health Organization, which is not necessarily a conservative organization, has come out and said that obesity is the greater threat to society than starvation for the first time in history. It's
beautiful. It's so much innovation, and you see people that hate on GMOs. They hate on the ways that farmers are raising their chickens, their cows, whatever it is, and they say, look, it's inhumane, it's disgusting, and then everything else, and they want to tear that away. Vegans are trying to just entirely get rid of meat farms and everything else, and it's just like we see so much supply coming out there that's hitting the market. That's why people are able to kill themselves by eating too much. And it's amazing how many people want to just drag that back, and they say, no, it's immoral, it's wrong, and so we have to get rid of these things. And it's just like, do you not get the bigger picture on these things?
That is a issue I've run into a lot recently, is declaring things that have nothing to do with morality immoral or moral.
Yeah, it's just amoral, right? Just without moral.
Yeah, some things are just amoral. Like, there's a whole bunch of discussions to switch topics entirely of Nancy Pelosi calling the wall immoral, and that walls are immoral in general. And that logic doesn't flow. Like, there's nothing there. Because there's walls that are used quite nicely and protect people all over the world.
Yeah.
In every country that ever existed.
Like her wall around the house? That was the other thing we got to get into. So did you see Laura Loomer and her shenanigans?
I don't know that one off the top of my head.
Okay, so Laura Loomer actually in recent time, it was I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, she actually went to Nancy Pelosi's Grand Castle or home, and she brought with her a couple of illegal immigrants and brought them onto her property, set up a tent, and had pictures of people that were killed by illegal immigrants hanging from that tent. And I saw a lot of people cheering about that and thinking that this is good and this is proper and this is, we got to get in her face and do this. And even, who was I listening to? Oh, geez. I apologize. Larry Elder. So I was listening to Larry Elder the other day, and he hit it on just spot on, right? I knew that it was wrong to go onto somebody's property and to protest against their stuff on private property, but he made it abundantly clear that this is the exact conversation, or these are the exact actions that Maxine Waters was advocating for. Get in their face and let them know that they're not welcome here, or get in their face and tell them that their views are unwelcome. And it's I don't know, seeing that thing, I don't know if you've been following Laura Loomer a lot, but as of late I look at her and I'm like, she may be fighting for conservative things or conservative points, but she is not a conservative in her actions. She's utilizing the left in their playbooks in order to advance the right, and I just don't see any value in it. You got any initial thoughts on that?
I think that there's a lot of people coming out to try to fill a need of the people that aren't seeing what they want from media, from entertainment. Like, people in general are a little lost, which is why we're seeing all these new media forms sprout up and all the popularity of odd little shows pop up here and there.
Yep.
And there will be those that want to capitalize on it, and they will do whatever motivation, whatever little trick they have to get into the market. And that's all I see some of those shenanigans as. Like, there's going to be all sorts of odds and ends.
Yeah.
Now, I still value some sort of traditional conversation, actual policy discussion, which is what I'm missing, is actual logical arguments back and forth, and not emotions versus some facts and discussion.
Exactly. All right. Well, I appreciate you for calling in tonight, Irish. I'm gonna get off the line so that way if anyone else wants to call in. But I appreciate you for calling in, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Have a wonderful night.
All right. Thank you, man. All right. Thank you again, Irish, for calling in on that. And, Irish is that guy that early on, right, he's always been a big supporter. And, he's been a very big supporter for me. And I appreciate the living crap out of the dude. But he is one of those very wise individuals. He does an abundance of research, and he's been one of the guys in the background that's been really helping me out in the past. So thank you so much, Irish, for doing that. So going back to this Laura Loomer thing, and Irish is right that we're missing. So whenever we utilize the left's tactics, and especially when Maxine Waters comes out and says that explicitly, and we use that, right, we're stepping down to their level. And so I may not be a quote-unquote conservative, but I still fight for the conservative cause. I still fight for conservative versus versus the Democrats, or against the liberals, against the progressives, and everything else. And I want to see success. And how you get success is not by having these quick throwbacks and these quick hitbacks, but actually being able to say, this is why these people are wrong. And if you can make it into a short, quick, succinct message, right? You don't do like what I do, right? I'm a bag of hot air. You make these in nice, short messages. You throw those out on the airwaves, and you can get those spread. Right, we saw this from multiple different members of Congress or potential electees during the last midterms. Right, we saw where people were hitting hard topics. Right, Nick Fritas from Virginia. How many people saw on Twitter, on Facebook, his discussions about the Second Amendment, the purpose thereof, talking about a tyrannical government, talking about self-defense and the defense of their property, and the defense of their families, right? You can take all of that, you can shrink it all down, and you can knock people out with it. It's amazing, right? And that's how, when you can take those small little packets of information, you could throw that out there, and you say, left, you take this. Beat it somehow. And all that they are left with is just nothing but saying you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're blah, 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 right? They lack the information to be able to challenge that. And so it's great. It's great in that way. So we have to push back on that. So we covered a little bit with Irish. We talked a little bit about this New York Times article, and I want to get a little more in depth with it. So the title of this one from the New York Times is "The $15 minimum wage is here. Why we need $33 an hour." So we talked a little bit about the food insecurity, right? And so they talk about this, and we talked about how it doesn't just it hurts the workers that are already working, because you're going to have a higher expectation of work. You're going to have people getting laid off and removed from their work, but it also, for the left to advocate for this, they have to understand that whenever there's a raise in minimum wage, there's one demographic that it hurts the most: young black males. Young black males are hurt the most whenever minimum wage raises. So it's kind of disgusting whenever you see the left saying you have to protect this demographic of people, and then at the same time say we also want to screw them over as hard as possible by raising it from $15 an hour and more than doubling it up to $33. I saw somebody pointing it out there that, by the general thumb rule, that $33 an hour is $69,000 a year. $69,000 a year. That sounds like a lot of money right now, but when that is the minimum wage, that's chump change. Not Trump change, that's chump change. You aren't going to be able to afford anything on $69,000 a year, because again, minimum wage means that the little boy that comes in, is a sophomore in high school, goes down to the Regal Cinemas, and he gets his job. $33 an hour. $33 an hour. Can you imagine right now a bag of popcorn, a large bag of popcorn at Regal Cinemas is about $33 an hour, or $33 for the bucket. So you have that, and then you're going to more than double the minimum wage, and you're going to expect that bag of popcorn to stay at 33? No, it's going to go up. So you have the cost of living is going to go up in every single one of these areas, because these businesses are not just going to take it and say, oh, they raised the minimum wage so that I can make less money. No, they're going to say, well, we'll just make more money overall and we'll sell our products for more. And you have this continual train of inflation. And the end result is that the people get screwed over. Fantastic. I love it when the people get screwed over because of the left's tactics. What we have is we have the $15 minimum wage already, and what we need to do is to remove it. We need to remove the minimum wage. And because when we look at how everybody is being depressed, you get depressed down whenever you raise up the minimum wage. The opposite will happen, right? You remove the minimum wage, you will see more people get jobs. You will see more people get jobs because it's going to be cheaper to hire new labor. This doesn't mean that you're going to be going in and working for nickels and dimes per hour. This means that you're going to actually have to go in and say, look, I'm not working for less than $7 an hour. I'm not working for less than $8 an hour. I'm not working less than $15 an hour. And you actually have to barter, and you actually have to work in order to achieve what you have. This means that if you want to get up at higher wages, what do you have to do? You have to invest in yourself. And you guys know I've been reading the Calvin Coolidge biography lately, and one of his great quotes is, don't worry about the job that you want, worry about the job that you have. And work so hard at that until you get noticed and you get those views, and then somebody's going to bring you up to the next level. Right? Somebody else, something is going to come along and grab you and bring you up to the next level. And that's what people need to learn. It's self-responsibility. Don't think that the government is there to ensure that you get a quote-unquote livable wage, because whatever wage they make will no longer be a livable wage, because when the inflation is done, you won't be able to live off of it. It is to have these stances, and the New York Times, like Irish said, used to be in support of $0 minimum wage. Now they're in favor of $33 a minimum wage. They don't care about the facts. They don't care about the truth of these situations. What they care about is making sure that they feel good. It's not about what's right. It's about what feels right. And I think that was also taken from Dennis Prager. I want to continue on. So over there, if you guys saw today, we did have March for Our Lives. March for Our Lives is a pro-life march that happened in D.C., and it happens every year. And it's just a march in order to say, look, the fetuses are life, based on science, based on understanding, based on principles, that a fetus is life at conception, right? At the time of conception, there is a separate strand of DNA within the mother's womb. And at that very moment, it is life, and it should be protected, and it should be loved, and it should be nurtured, and it should be cared for, not slaughtered, not dismembered, not taken and used in science. Now, it's always a beautiful time, and of course, everyone has to be very specific. You have to be semantically, factually, and what was the other one that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez used? I don't remember, but you have to be all of those absolutely 100% correct. You have to be absolutely factually correct. And then on top of that, you're already morally right because you're defending somebody's innocent life. But nonetheless, Ben Shapiro today, he said, the argument I guess here is, would you kill baby Hitler? And the truth is that no pro-life person on earth would kill baby Hitler because baby Hitler wasn't Hitler. Adult Hitler was Hitler. Baby Hitler was a baby. What you presumably want to do with baby Hitler is take baby Hitler out of baby Hitler's house and move baby Hitler into a better house where he would not grow up to be Hitler, right? That's the idea. So it's the idea that it's not just it's the nature versus nurture argument, right? Because of the womb that you're born into, does not determine what kind of a life you have, right? There is certain traits about you that may determine some things about you, but it does not determine your perseverance. It does not determine how moral you'll be. It does not determine how smart you will be. It determines some of your characteristics, right? So intersex is something that's determined during your gestational period. If you have, some birth defects, those are all obviously from the gestational period. But your character is not defined by the womb that you're in. Your character, your person, your entity, your spirit, all of these things are developed by the society around you. This is the nurture side of the argument. So it's not that we want to go out and say, look, we know in the future you're going to commit a crime. You're going to be a devastating person to society. So we are going to murder you. We are going to kill you now, right? That is not a position that anyone should ever want to take. The position is how do we help guide this person to be a better person? How do we guide this person? How do we nurture this person into being a more loving person and being more tolerant and being more accepting? But the pro-choice people, the people who would rather argue that any and all lives during gestational periods can be killed at whatever point that they've determined, say that you should be able to kill even baby Hitler. Even baby Hitler, after being born, you should be able to kill him because he's going to cause problems in the future. And if we take that stance and we run it to the extreme, could you imagine somebody really, really gets off on people speeding? We know that you're going to speed when you grow up, so we just got to nick it off right now. Sorry. We got to save the society. You're gonna be absolutely atrocious, and I've determined that this is the immorality of the world, that people speeding. Where does that end up? Where does that go to? Right? We always see that it's always an emotional reason, right? And I'm not saying that killing 6 million Jews is not an emotional reason, but when it comes to people defending pro-choice, it is always based in emotion. It is always. Because here are the common arguments, right? Somebody says, but what about rape? What about rape? That is 1% of the cases, so it's a very minute portion of the cases. So you shouldn't be trying to use the small portions in order to justify the big portions, but justifying saying that because somebody was raped, because somebody had an atrocious and absolutely reprehensible, grotesque thing happen to them, in which I believe that the rapist should be, castrated, should be taken out back. I do not in any way condone rapist or the action thereof. You don't, that's the bad act, right? That's the bad situation. So the idea, right, whenever somebody says, but what about the rape situations. They're saying that because this atrocious action happened, you can now kill a third party. You can now end the life of a third party. There's just really no justification. It is purely based on emotions. It is disgusting. So you have that one. You have incest cases. Again, I understand we don't want to have people that are mutated and people that have we're having a conversation about eugenics at that point. It's not good. It's not good. It's not proper at all. Sin Soaked, welcome in, my good sir. And it's there's just nothing there. There's no argument in favor of abortion, right? If you want to go even to the level of saying, look, the mother's life is at risk, that would be a term in which I would say, yes, we can, it can be administered because of, to save the life of a mother. But even those situations are so incredibly rare because at the point in which a mother's life would be at risk, they're already past the point of viability. The point of viability is about the end of the second trimester in most modernized countries. And certainly here in America, we've had children that have been born before the quote-unquote point of viability at the end of the second trimester and been able to survive and live normal lives. And so even on that ground, there's that, there's just nothing there. There's really no justification behind it. It's just all emotional trope. That's all that it is, and that's all that will be effectively. As time goes on, the point of viability will move further and further towards the point of conception, and there really isn't anything there. I want to know when it is that people will say, okay, we can't accept abortion anymore. We can't accept that more people are being killed, that more babies are being killed that were otherwise innocent, that hadn't done nothing to anyone at all. Debbie, welcome in. So that's seeing baby Hitler trend on Twitter. That really perked up my ears. That really got me wondering what exactly it is that is going on to make somebody say baby Hitler. And I saw it was Ben Shapiro, and I was like, I cannot imagine how good this is going to go, right? We already have people that we saw the protest last year where people were already calling him a Nazi and saying that he just wants to enslave the Jews, kill the Jews, and everything else. And it's like, you realize he's wearing a yarmulke every time that he's out. Anytime that he's out, you can find him with a yarmulke. Dude's kind of a Jew. Dude is just slightly kind of a Jew. But yeah, no, it's Ben Shapiro. I'm glad. So I was worried. The biggest part that I was worried about was that it wasn't going to be well thought out. I'm sorry for doubting him in that way. Sure, you can conflate it and make it look worse than what it is. But at the end of the day, he did all right. Yukon Camper, welcome in. Little sidebar point. Ubisoft apologizes for forcing your Assassin's Creed Odyssey character into a straight relationship. Can you imagine being so beaten down by the beta left that you're like, I'm sorry that we made a character in this video game. It's not real, but we gave you one storyline and you're going to have sex with somebody that is of the opposing gender, and so we have to apologize. Can you imagine how much of a to go to this level and to act as if it's not normal and normal as in the greatest portion of the population is this way, right? It is not normal to have a straight relationship, and to depict that in 2019 is this how far we've gone with the cultural Marxism? Is this how far we've gone with the removing the standards, right? They weren't saying, there's nothing in there from what I can find that was just like, gay people are horrible, they're egregious, they need to be wiped off the earth. No, it was just a straight relationship. Are we having to apologize now? Is this the big thing in 2019? We're going to apologize for straightness? Right? Because we already had to apologize for whiteness. We already had to apologize for being cisgendered. And now we're going to have to apologize for our sexuality, for the normal. And I can't believe that this is what's going on in here. I can't believe that this is really what's going on. I have to apologize because I depicted a straight relationship. Sorry. I realize that each and every one of you people in the world right now, 7 billion people in the world, all of you were created by a straight relationship, i.e. a man and a woman being able to take their sexual juices or whatever you want to call them, and being able to put them together, right? Taking the egg and taking the sperm, putting them together and creating a zygote and then creating a fetus out of that. Like, that's what happened from a man and a woman. But we have to apologize for human nature. We have to apologize for what is normal. Just absolutely 100% despicable. Just completely stupid. So while we're talking about stupid, let's go back to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She was in an interview, and because she was in an interview, you know, she had to say something stupid. She basically said that now Trump is going to get tired because she's running a train on the progressive agenda. First off, the context of that is just absolutely horrible. Why would you run a train on something that is yours, unless she is actually 100% just diverting herself or divorcing herself from the progressive agenda and just saying democratic socialism is an entirely different entity, which I wouldn't put it past her. I wouldn't put it past her to think that, right? Because the progressive agenda is synonymous with the democratic socialist methodology, but I wouldn't put it past her to be so blatantly stupid to push for that. But nonetheless, so running a train, if you guys don't know what running a train is, it's basically like a gangbang. It's a bunch of dudes, one chick, just going to town. It could, for the sake of Ubisoft, it could be a bunch of dudes running a train on one dude. But whatever it is, it's one person just having a bunch of other people have sexual encounters with them in the course of a short period of time. Oftentimes, you'll have multiple people there at the same time interacting with one another. But there's one targeted person. So nonetheless, so she is talking about doing this. And was it really that long ago that we were talking about the Me Too movement? And sometimes even when it comes to running a train, sometimes it is about gang rape. Sometimes it is about gang rape. The Me Too movement was just last year. Has she forgotten this already? Is she just trying to be so hip? Trying to get the youngins in here that she's going to use slang and use words completely out of context, but nonetheless use them in order to get the headlines and get people in there. Come on now. It is just 100% disgusting. And I gotta say this, there's a lot of people out there that are like, yeah, she's stupid, but she's hot. No, she's not. She's got big eyes, and so there's a natural attraction from guys to look at girls with big eyes. It's natural, right? It's part of evolution. I forgot what it means, but basically it's like it helps. If women have larger eyes, then it somehow helps with like the reproductive system. It's just like natural, like wide hips and big tits. Those are natural things in order to help. All right, Hunter, you're getting out of here, bro. That's you can tell I'm not interested. But so it's just natural on that aspect. But other than that, like even her eyes, I'm like, nah, I'm not down with that. Even beyond that, she's got like a horse face. She's got like a weird face overall. She's not attractive. She's not attractive in any way. We just really need to. Can we just stop doing this? Yeah, big eyes. We just need to do away with thinking that she's an attractive person. And on top of that, right, her political views, her economic misunderstandings of everything in the world, really knocks her down from being like a solid 5, maybe a 6 on a good day, to being like a negative 16. She is a negative 20 on a bad day. Just reprehensible in every way. But so she's going to be running a train on the progressive agenda. And when it comes to this, I want you guys to look, and I've been looking at the Democrats and how they're functioning and where the fabric, the integrity of them is being pulled away. And you can see that she is causing a little bit more of a divide. She is breaking up some of the unity there because of how divisive she is towards the others, right? When she comes out and she blasts her own, and they're like, "Hey, stop sniping our own guys. Stop doing this," right? If she's going to continue, because there's going to be some Democrats to say, "Look, we're not on board with all of this. We're not on board with your democratic socialism." And when they go against it on one thing, right, she's going to be just pulling apart from it. She's going to be continuing to pull apart. And the concerns for this is she's literally going to be raping the progressive agenda because they're going to be ineffective at the end of this, right? When they pull each other apart and they become pretty similar to what we know of the Republican Party, where you have a lot of people just voting on their conscience rather than voting for the party, it's going to be her fault, and she's going to be the one. She's going to be the conductor on this. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that she's doing this. Ilhan Omar, she's going to be helping out, of course, in her own way, right? Coming out and endorsing anti-Semitic views and stances, and continuing to go into interviews and espouse these things and just say, look, Israel needs to go away. But everyone else has a right to life, and everyone else should be protected and be loved, except for Israel, because F you, Israel. I gotta give Boogie Bumper another quick shout out. He had a pretty good tweet because they've been talking about this. Boogie Bumper, James, who was here earlier. A lot of people have been talking about the fact that President Trump was really revolutionized the way that he's getting out to the people, right? Utilizing social media in order to get the outreach and to get a hold of people. It really revolutionized. This is how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made it to fame and got known and then got her support, was that she was reaching to people through social media. And she actually, just the other day, I believe it was yesterday, they tweeted this out, that Ted Lieu had tweeted that he was with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Representative Deb Dingell, Jay Himes, David Cicilline, Cartwright, and Twitter representatives. They were training on the use of social media. They're training. The Democrats are coming together and they're working to expand their outreach, their social media outreach. They are taking it to the next level. And so I said I needed to give him a shout out, so I'm going to read his tweets for you. So this was from Boogie Bumper. Democrats taking classism and maximizing their effectiveness on Twitter. We told you this was coming. Trump won largely in part due to his ability to define narratives outside the traditional corporate media. His opponent's strategy now, adopt the tactic and multiply it. So as we see the new blood come in, as we see them, there's more younger representatives on the left rather than on the right come in, as they're more involved with social media, as they grew up on social media. They grew up after the AOL dial-up speeds. This is all that they've known, they're going to be better at it. And so it's incumbent that if you're running for office, if you know somebody running for office, you try to help them out. You try to give them some support, and you try to get them up to the next level, because this is going to be critical in 2022. Right? 2020, 2022, 2024. There is much to be caught up. Now, one area in which the left will never be able to catch up, and this is going to be the best part, is the left will never be able to meme. Why can the left never meme? Because the left can't make a joke, because they're offended by anything that is a joke. So we've at least got them there. Keep pumping out the memes and keep making fun of them. That's been going across social media. That's been able to get people still somewhat standing on the right side of the aisle. But if they're able to get that outreach, if they're able to really change up the conversation, the way that things are functioning, we are going to see them start pulling bigger numbers. We're going to see them start pulling away at the fabric of this new Generation Y, that was supposed to be much more libertarian or much more conservative, much more smaller government limited, because they're growing up and they're seeing the destruction across the world, not just the American politics, not just where we've had 3 big shutdowns in the last 2 years, but we have America's government kind of flubbing and messing up. We have the Canadian government saying, yeah, we'll take in world known terrorists, we'll Come on over here, have a good time, it's fine. We're looking across the EU, we're looking across Europe entirely, and we're seeing that all these different governments are saying, yeah, we're going to take in all these people, and they have no idea, they have no grasp or no logistics to be able to take care of these people, and they're being devastated. We're seeing where, Brexit is occurring, and we're seeing that destruction. We're seeing in France where the people were revolting, and they're saying, that's not the socialism I want this socialism instead. So we're seeing governments around the world right now failing. And somehow through this all, here in America, we are still so short-sighted as a whole, as a society, that democratic socialism has gained seats in the last election. And they're so inherently involved with the media and with the social media that they are going to be able to take it to the next level if we do not get better, if we do not grow. And so it's incumbent upon us to help out each other and to figure out the next step and to take it to the next level. It has to be done. Because it's a scary world out there. It's going to be a scary world out there if democratic socialism becomes a insurmountable beast in Congress. It needs to be done. Some of them are stolen. Yes. I think a lot of people were covering those. I was not covering those to any serious extent. I know that James was covering those. I think Boogie Bumper was covering a couple of those. The stolen seats, the voter fraud in this last election, it was certainly pretty prevalent. Let me pull this one up. Sorry, I'm pulling up an old tweet. So, this was on the 17th. So, this was yesterday. Yesterday was a jam-packed filled day, and I know that we talked a little bit about this with Irish, and I'm going to bring it back just because I'm going to go through one of Jamie Dupree's tweets. Jamie Dupree is a fantastic journalist. He covers Congress in D.C. for Washington, or WSB, Atlanta for WDBO, Orlando, and a couple other ones. He's a fantastic guy. He's one of the guys that I look to get good synopsises and to get really unbiased and objective news. So we had on the House voted yesterday to reinstate the government. They were like, hey, we got this bill. It's going to come to you, Mr. President, and it's going to fund the government. We're going to be going again. We're not going to get that 30 days. No, we're not. We are not going to get that because it didn't have the wall funding. And so it got shut down, and we saw The Hill, we saw CNN, we saw MSNBC, we saw all of them go, Mitch McConnell didn't take this bill either. It's weird. It's like he told us that he wasn't going to take any bills that didn't fund the wall, but we're still surprised that when we don't fund the wall, he doesn't take the bills. So the ability for those media sources to be objective is clearly not there. For them to have a memory past a day or 2 days, clearly not there. So we had that vote. And then after that, the House will vote on a continued resolution next week. That we will see if they're going to get that through. Doubt that will happen. And then, as Irish was saying when he first hopped on the call, so if you guys remember last week, or maybe it was early in this week, Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to the president. Normally, the State of the Union is done in the House of Representatives. There's 535 members, so it would be nice to have some place that has an ample amount of seats for people to come in and be able to watch the president speak. Nancy Pelosi says, the government shut down, so let's not have that here. Let's not have that now. You can do it as a written statement, or you can wait until after the government comes back. I'm trying to urge President Trump to either make it written, which wouldn't be it wouldn't get near the same publicity as if he said it spoken. And if he waited until after the shutdown, then he would have to fold. She was trying to get him to fold on the deal and give up on the wall. And certainly I don't think he's giving up on that anytime soon. So his response, troll game master. President Trump waits for Nancy Pelosi and a couple others to be heading over to Afghanistan. And so they're on the bus on the way there, and he drops the most beautiful message. And And I want to read it for you guys in case you guys missed it. So, dear Madam Speaker, due to shutdown, I am sorry to inform you that the trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan have been postponed. We will reschedule this 7-day excursion when the shutdown is over. In light of the 800,000 great American workers not receiving pay, I'm sure you would agree that postponing this public relations event is totally appropriate. I feel that during this period, it would be better if you were here in Washington negotiating with me and joining the strong border security movement to end the shutdown. Obviously, if you would like to make your journey by flying commercial, that would certainly be your prerogative. I look forward to seeing you soon, and even more forward to watching our open and dangerous southern border finally receive the attention, funding, and security it so desperately deserves. Sincerely, Donald J. Trump. Taking that troll game, stepping it up to the next level. She was going to be taking a military flight, and I don't know if you guys know this, but we are in a time of war because we have not ended this war, and so he is the commander-in-chief, and as such, of course, he is in control of all military. So he turned that plane, and he grounded the plane, and boy, were they mad. Boy, were they upset. They came back, and they're outraged, of course. Nancy Pelosi, since then, she is going to be taking a commercial flight. I'm not sure if she has taken it yet or not, but she's going to be taking a commercial flight because rather than staying at home, rather than staying here in Washington, she decided that, you know, when the government first shut down, she was going to go to Hawaii, and then she decided Puerto Rico would be a nice place. And then now she's deciding that Afghanistan. So three vastly different areas that she's going to be going to during the time of the government shutdown. It's just much better than actually trying to work and come through to restore the government. So every time that she talks about the immorality of the wall, every time that she talks about how disgusting it is that the government is shut down, you can point to her and say, so then why'd you leave? You were explicitly called out and told, hey, why don't you come and have this conversation? If you want to fly on your own dime and spend what has been found out since then, that she spends $1,000 on booze, $1,000 on alcohol for her flights. So if you want to spend that money, you can buy your own plane ticket, and then you can also expense your own booze because you're not going to do it off the military. It's it's amazing. The troll game, it is always strong with the Trump, and he really knocked it out of the park with that one. Yes, it's petty. Yes, it's a little unbecoming, but that hit back, that is an instant classic. That is an instant classic. Could you imagine pulling up and being like, all right, we're going to go hop on this airplane? No, you're not. Oh, man. Ooh, that's a good one. Let me see if I got another good article up here. Oh, this one made me so proud. And you guys know me, I am usually pretty critical of police officers who go above and beyond certainly the Constitution in which they swore an oath to. But this officer, great guy. I'm so upset about this one. So a good cop is charges police chief with a felony and is immediately fired. Ooh. So in New Holland, Police Sergeant Brad Mick was doing his job of trying to fight crime in the city of New Holland, and for his dedication to duty, he was fired. The good cop was relieved from duty because the alleged criminals he went after were part of the Thin Blue Line. Mick dared to call out the corruption in his own department by executing a search warrant and filing charges against the mayor, the current police chief, and the former police chief. He was then immediately fired, but not before he tried to seek protection from termination. So, according to the Fayette Advocate, Mick filed what is commonly known as a whistleblower protection affidavit. Under Ohio law, with fiscal officer Mavic Yorchuk a week ago, on Monday night, he filed the same document with the mayor, police chief, and council vice president, Greg Shaw. Uh-oh. I can't get this ad to go away. Oh no. I can't scroll anymore. We lost this. But nonetheless, so basically he went through And he went and he found out that the mayor was signing bills, and the name that he was using of one of the individuals was not even in the state on the day that he was having him sign things. And so he found out that the mayor was committing perjury and forging someone else's signature, and goes after him, gets a search warrant, does everything within the system the way that he was supposed to, and manages to get fired for this. Now, he is expected to return back to work, so it's a good thing. These are the cops that we need. These are the great cops that you look out and they say, look, I don't care who you are. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. And when you have somebody like that, these are the people that we need to share. These are the people that we need to love and prop up. It's not the officers that say, look, I had a feeling and so I went off on a feeling, and they go Hollywood on people, right? And then they find like something small and insignificant, or they don't find anything at all, and they resort to planting evidence, right? I'm sure a lot of us have seen those cases in recent time. Those are the people, right, that we want to get out. Those are the people that we want to just completely 100% remove. But an officer like this, 100% fantastic. Bravo Zulu, props to him. These are the officers that we need protecting us day in and day out, because they're going to hold people accountable. I love it too much. I love it when somebody's like, I don't care who you are, I'm going to go after you. I'm going to make sure that you're not committing crimes of others. But yeah, so I'm going to leave you guys with that. I'll leave you guys on a good note, right? It's not very common. It's not very often that I'm leaving you guys on a good note, and that is that there are still great officers out there doing the right thing in order to protect the people from forgery. But I hope you guys all have an amazing weekend. I want to thank you guys once again for coming in tonight, for sharing it out, for getting your friends and family involved. And make sure you guys don't drink and drive or ride with those who do. You have family and friends who care about you, love you deeply, and they want you to come back here. I will be back here Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. And thank you guys once again for all the support, for all the likes, the retweets, the shares, and everything else. If you guys have not found me on YouTube, make sure you guys find me on YouTube, like the video, and subscribe. If you guys haven't found me on Periscope, make sure you guys find me on there. Thank you guys all. I am Mr. Murka, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern.